If you truly love someone, does that mean that you protect them from being hurt, or you are being honest with them despite the hurt? What about forgiveness? Do you ask for forgiveness because that's the right thing to do, or to make yourself feel better? Will Carrie Bradshaw show us how it's done, or will she piss us off again? Let's see, shall we? Well, hello there. This is how we do things here. We narrate, we analyze, and we pretend we know better and would do better, hopefully. In this video, we are gonna see the aftermath of Carrie and Big ending their affair, and how is Carrie now struggling with the very, very, very real problem of coming clean, of being honest, of respecting her partner at least in some way. It's a struggle, people. Carrie is still with Aiden. She hasn't told him yet, but the guilt is eating her alive. Kinda eating. I guess the eating is very small, like chop, chop, chop. She finds herself contemplating all the time. Should she tell Aiden about her affair with Mr. Big, or should she keep it under the rugs just a little bit longer? Just until she gets the courage to face her fuck up. People, it's difficult to admit you did wrong when all you can see is how good of a person you are. According to Samantha, Missy, that ship has already sailed.
Men lie about this stuff all the time.
We've learned Samantha's motto also last time. If they do it, we should too. Equality. And Miranda points out that, yes, Samantha, it's true that men do these things all the time, but it's also true that women find out. If she was Aiden, she would want to know. She would want to have all the info. Who, where, when, why. And people, I'm with Miranda on this one. Honestly, I would want to know. I think I would want to know. Like, if we break up and then I never also find out that he was also cheating, okay, like, why would I need to know now? But if I'm still in the relationship and an affair happened or cheating happened, biz, how does Sabrina say it? Heartbreak is one thing, my ego's another. Look, I can understand that maybe things are not going well between the two of us anymore. Maybe you're looking for something different. Everyone has the right to be with someone who pleases them in more ways, I guess. Does it hurt? Does it make you feel sad? Yes, it does. But what makes me mad, you are not only doing your thing, you're also taking away my freaking choice. You are deciding to control my life as well, keeping me in the dark, bringing me along, not letting me decide if I want to continue this. Oh. Now that's a problem. Carrie gets a little bit freaked out because what if he finds out? New York one time is a place where only 5 people live and people are just running into each other all the time. And another time, it is the Big Apple. No one knows anyone else exists. I guess this time we're going with that part, right? There's no way Aiden would find out on his own. This conversation makes Carrie think about things, makes her want to understand better, to realize, is honesty overrated? Telling Aiden, would that actually be the most selfish thing she could do? Hurt him. Wouldn't it be better, and isn't that the point of loving someone, to protect them from the hurt? What will she gain, or what will Aiden gain if she actually tells him? Is it for Aiden or is it for herself?
Maybe coming clean is the ultimate selfish act, a way to absolve yourself by hurting someone who doesn't deserve to be hurt.
I'm confused. Since when does Carrie care about being selfish or not being selfish? She was very selfishly indulging in Big the last 3 weeks. Cheating in general, for me personally, is not a mistake. It's not like, oh, I'm walking and poop, I bumped on my banana slip because I didn't take the trash out. Where am I going with this? It's clear to me that Carrie has a problem with selfishness if it impacts her in a bad way. You see, being selfish to get with Big, that was okay. But telling Aiden, that's the type of selfish we don't do. Come on now. Maybe I was bad, but this is crossing the line. So is it about being selfish or is it about judgment? Carrie trying to understand this, so profound question. It's not about helping Aiden. It's about how she can self-preserve, how she can make sure that she doesn't get hurt. So she's trying to come up with some kind of reason. Why would it be good not to tell Aiden, hiding it behind, I don't want to hurt him? Because if you wouldn't want to hurt him, you wouldn't have an affair for 3 fucking weeks. So sit down. Again, this is all in good fun. To top it all off, you know what Carrie is worried about? Carrie is worried if Aiden will still love her after he finds out.
This was the time to tell him. But if I told him, could he still love me?
Now imagine that. I really wonder how selfish of a person you have to be to hurt someone and then again wonder, will they still love me? When you yourself took a decision that clearly shows that you don't really love them. Huh? You know, I'm always trying to understand a little bit better, like how people act and so on, which I think like 90% of us is. But when it comes to Carrie, like at this point, the explainable part, I do not see it anymore. Apart from, Carrie having like self-identity issues, Carrie being driven by her own needs, and but again, this is then selfishness. I don't know. Can you help me? Do you see something that is happening that could explain Carrie's behavior? Carrie is staying at Aiden, but she can't really sleep. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, and she decides to go out on the stairs to have a smoke. In that time, Aiden also wakes up. He notices that Carrie is not in her bed, and he joins her outside. Now this was interesting, and I want to hear your thoughts about it.
We can't have you sneaking out here 3 o'clock in the morning every time we want a cigarette.
Tried to quit.
Well, I guess I'll just have to learn to live with it.
So Carrie is smoking, right? And somehow the conversation goes into how she has difficulties quitting smoking. And Aiden says that he'll just have to learn how to live with it. I know. I'm gonna try to be as calm going into this and as rational as I can be. But I need your help. Is this the red flag that Aiden should have seen? Because from the get-go, this was his deal breaker. And now he's the one who needs to accept it. He's the one who needs to be okay with her smoking, otherwise he's gonna lose her. Or we know that she's cheating on him, right? We know that she is not good for him. And we see this smoking part as a sign, right? But on the other hand, from Aiden's perspective, Carrie is just struggling with smoking and he is trying to meet her some way, reassure her that he's not gonna leave her because she continues to smoke, to show commitment to her. Let me know in the comments below. Is this the red flag that Aiden should have seen and not ignore? And if it is, why do you think it is? And if it isn't, why do you think it isn't? Carrie feels even worse about the fact that now he's even accepting this smoking thing. And she asks him, what is your flaw? And Aiden looks at her and says, I don't know. You tell me. Carrie is looking at Aiden and she's thinking, I know what your flaw is. That you're trusting me this much.
But suddenly I couldn't tell him. I was afraid that if I did, he'd never look at me that way again.
Mary, I know, but also, I don't know. I don't know how someone can be so selfish that you even know what is the flaw of the other person. You're trusting me too much and yet not coming clean. Like she's using his goodness, the trust that he has in her to benefit herself. Like, what in the narcissist are we talking about here? Is this not showing that Carrie needs to sit down and she needs to reevaluate? Carrie is acting as though she needs to protect Aiden, right? You don't even know what's happening. How can you be so patronizing towards someone you're supposed to love? Someone you are supposed to see as your equal, as your partner? You know, a part of me feels like this writing and this whole part of the season 3 is giving us a perspective or an insight into someone who is cheating on someone else and how they do believe that they are being good towards their partner when they don't tell them, where they're sorry or whatever. But in reality, it's all self-preservation. Or maybe I'm blindsided by this view and this is all I can see. There is also this theory where Carrie keeps on staying with Aiden because he represents the good part of her, right? Being with Aiden helps her see herself as being the good person because she has someone who confirms that. So letting go of Aiden would also mean that she actually needs to face her flaws. And even if that's the case, we come again to the same answer, right? The same reasoning is her own self-preservation. How she feels, how she will face herself, and so on. It has nothing to do with the other person. This could also show how Carrie finds it very, very difficult to accept her own flaws, to accept that she needs to work on things, that she needs to actually grow and treat people around her in a better way. Instead of the judgment of cheating transferring in people being more honest and authentic and respectful to other people, it just turned into, well, people are afraid of judgment. That's why they don't come clean. So that's why they are actually the victims, almost normalizing it. Isn't it crazy if you think about it? And yet, here we are. She looks at him and she tells him that she loves him. And Aiden loves her too. But she's gonna go to her own place. And Aiden offers to go with her, and she's like, no, I'm gonna go alone. Aiden stays on the stairs, but he is looking a little bit confused. He's like, And that's what we talked about before, right? Is this a sign? Is this something that he shouldn't brush off? Should he notice that Carrie is pulling away? She kind of got the ick, and then she said that she just has a lot of things on her mind, was basically hiding that she's smoking again. Were those all the signs that Aiden should have taken in consideration and actually have a conversation with Carrie on what is going on? Or we see it like that because it gives us reassurance that we would know these things, that there are signs, which means you can protect yourself. The worst thing is when you find out that someone cheated on someone or the relationship didn't go well, and then it's like there were no signs. There was not. Then I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Is it a way to also almost victim blame? Because it gives us comfort. And we're not really seeing the situation for what it is, that it's not so easy to see the red flags. It's not so easy to see the signs, because those signs can be also a part of very real, normal development of a relationship or of two people coming together. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does this help you? Why the F am I watching this video if now you are putting even more paranoia in my head? The only thing that at the end of the day gave me comfort is having trust in myself that I will handle it. Having trust in myself that I am showing up for myself and I'm taking care of myself. Having trust that I'm also giving the benefit of the doubt, that I'm not just attacking or just seeing it everything as bad and red and so on. And at the end of the day, having trust that life will show up for me. If the relationship is not working, I can throw sand in my eyes. I can pretend that I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. I can not express when I feel like maybe the two people, like my partner, would be pulling away. I can do all of that. But in some way, life itself would also force me to acknowledge it. At some point, it will happen. And I think when you take off that pressure, you are actually more comfortable and you are okay with addressing things. For example, when Aiden saw that Carrie is maybe pulling a little bit away in the bed, right, when she didn't want to kiss and so on, he could have been very comfortable in sitting down and saying, what is it that you have on your mind? What are you actually dealing with that is causing this? How can I show up for you? Can I show up for you? But also expressing this is making me feel very uncomfortable in the relationship. It takes a certain maturity and certain trust in yourself and in life, let's say, to do that. But I think that's actually the only way where you can, if that's the aim, protect yourself, show up for yourself in some way. When you just dismiss it, they're just dealing with something and leave it at that, you're not really getting any answers. You are not only letting yourself down by not getting more information on things that would help you understand how to move forward, you're also kind of letting the other person down. because you are not showing that you're really interested in trying to understand it better. Then if the other person is always closed and doesn't want to talk about it, now that I would say is a cause for not concern, but a cause to bring forward and say, look, if you want that this relationship is working, if you want that the two of us feel safe with one another, you will have to open. You will have to talk about this. Now, if you feel like you don't really know how to handle it and so on, maybe we can find help. It is the next day and it is Charlotte's wedding. Now, Carrie is running a little bit late and Aiden comes to pick her up. It's obvious that she feels certain pressure. She's the maid of honor and, she's running late. Aiden, on the other hand, tries to connect with her, tries to hug her. It is clear that they are on totally different levels when it comes to what do they need in that moment. Carrie is stressed. The last thing on her mind is how to be loving towards Aiden. Aiden, on the other hand, is searching for that connection.
I was supposed to be at the church 10 minutes ago.
You never let me hold you anymore.
I'm gonna be honest. I am on Carrie's side in this scenario. I'm the type of person that if I'm running late, if I'm, being stressed, don't try to now be all, hugging me and trying to it's not a solution to calm me down. What would make me feel better is if you would hop on board. Like you would show me that you are acknowledging that I'm being stressed and we're running late and you're trying to help me to, not be late anymore. Okay? Don't try to, hug me and calm me down because that means that we're going to be late even more. So, to me, this is not the right situation for Aiden to try to get recognition or validation that everything is okay from Carrie. On the other side, I can see how Aiden is being driven by his own doubts. Because he feels some type of way, because he sees that Carrie is maybe pulling a little bit away, he is now focused on getting that reassurance. He doesn't care about the wedding. He doesn't care about the time they're late there, so on. He is trying to reassure that Carrie is with him. She still wants to actually be with him. To me personally, it does show that, his own insecurities are now like front and center. His own struggles with being good enough. Because he needs to almost force this reassurance rather than talking about it, asking about it, and maybe not right now, maybe not today when they're going to this wedding. An indication when you are acting out of your emotions, let's say, and doubts and insecurities is timing. Like if you are trying to have a conversation where the time is clearly not the right time, then it is clear that you are driven by the need for reassurance rather than actually wanting to address this and understand what is happening. What drives you is to feel better about the situation and not actually to know the truth, to find out what is going on. It also shows that when you are convincing yourself that it's nothing, every time you do that, it will manifest in some other way. When that buildup happens, it will just blow in the least appropriate way. And it's exactly what's happening here. Aiden is trying to get close with Carrie. She's kind of pulling away. And he even asks her, why is she running from him? And
What are you afraid of?
what is she afraid of? And it is funny and interesting because that's exactly what Carrie was doing and still is doing when it comes to Mr. Big. The only problem Mr. Big has is being afraid of commitment. And we had discussions about this. And here, Aiden is doing precisely that. He is justifying Carrie's behavior with fear. She's just afraid. She's afraid to commit. She's afraid to trust me. You cannot play the therapist. You cannot play someone who knows better because this you don't. You cannot know. You are too involved in it to just come to those conclusions. The other person needs to tell you that. The other person needs to come to that conclusion and express it. Because even though you say, they're just afraid, not only do you decide for them, you're actually suggesting them what could be the problem and deviating them from addressing what is the actual problem. Them and yourself. Aiden asking Carrie, what are you afraid of, is the wrong question. It would be so much more beneficial if he would say, Carrie, it's clear that you are pulling away. I don't know why, but we need to talk about this. I think it's very risky when we just say, oh, this is the thing. And maybe she is afraid. But does that justify the action? Does that justify the betrayal? I don't think so. And when you convince yourself that it is, oh, they're just cheating because they cannot okay, they cannot commit. Walk away. They're afraid they need to deal with their fears. They don't need to drag me into it. I don't need to be the savior. No. I'm trying to save my life. I'm trying to live the best way I can live and be happy. I do not need to take care also of your things. Maybe I'm harsh, but that's how I feel right now.
Aiden, I slept with my ex-boyfriend.
This is it, people. The grenade was released.
Oh, more than once. And he was married and it was a mess. And I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking, but it is so over.
It is clear that Carrie does not know how to have conversation and especially doesn't know how to actually communicate with empathy. Because the way she's telling this to Aiden is almost like she's talking about a colleague at work. They had some presentation. He did something, she did something. It was a mess. As though this is not a very, very serious thing that she did to another person. In this case, to Aiden. A huge betrayal, a huge hit to the relationship. I was baffled by how she explained this.
And it was wrong. And I just hope you can...
But again, it's actually not surprising because she doesn't actually, in this case, in this whole affair shenanigans, have any empathy towards Aiden, towards the other person. It's all driven by how she will lose him, how her image will be destroyed. So even when she's telling him this, it's about her. It might be very, very difficult for her to face him, to actually say it, but it's also very, very immature and, like I said, very indicative of the fact that it's all about her own self-preservation. Despite maybe this coming from not being able to take in the hurt that she created. She made so many decisions to hurt Aiden. It didn't matter then, but now it matters. Now when she can see the hurt and that hurt will judge her, now it's very, very difficult to even have a genuine, normal conversation. I don't like it. Aiden is speechless and hurt, clearly. He's backing away from Carrie and she's almost trying to get his forgiveness, get his understanding. Like, I'm hoping what, Biss? Chill. Take a step back. It's not about you right now. He tells her that he needs some time alone. He needs to take a walk.
What about the wedding?
I'm gonna take a walk.
Will you meet me there later?
Are you freaking kidding me? At this point, I'm like, this is bad writing. What do you mean? Is he gonna meet you in what universe do you live, Missy? Like, this to me was such a bizarre exchange, and it was so difficult to actually believe that Carrie is not so nonchalant about it. That she's like, oh, let's just, oopsie, let's go to the wedding. Okay, we need to, let's go with the flow. Let's just forget about that. That's nothing. But then again, like with everything that we learned about Carrie, it's also kind of not surprising. Aiden, on the other hand, is honestly taking this as mature as you can take it. He's hurt. He acknowledges that he needs some time for himself. He doesn't want to talk to Carrie in this moment. And this shows like emotional intelligence, right? He is not gonna just go into it and start, why did you do this? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. He already knows that this is very bad. And now he needs the time for himself to actually decide how to move forward. And I think this is a very, very difficult, I don't know if I would be able to do that. But if you are able to do it, that's the best thing. Because if this is your boundary, right, that you don't condone cheating, the best thing is to not give anything in that moment, but take time for yourself, because it allows you to actually address with yourself what happened and how you are going to show up for yourself. The more risky thing is trying to get answers in the heat of the moment, which can result in blurring the boundaries that you have because you're angry, you're yelling, you are mad. And we talked about it before. Every time you want to confront a person with anger, later what happens is that you start judging yourself because of the anger, and that becomes the problem rather than what is the actual problem. The fact that he actually decided to step away allows him to, as clearly, right, as possible, to address the situation and decide to do what's right for him on his own. Carrie goes to the wedding. She puts on a brave face and she doesn't share it with anyone what just happened with Aiden or that she has told him. But by the time the wedding is ending, they are standing outside waiting for Charlotte and Trey to come out. She sees Aiden across the street. She goes to him and he tells her that he's been walking around this block for an hour. He didn't know how to come to the wedding or how to come to her. Carrie says that she is sorry. And Aiden says, I know.
I'm so sorry, Aiden.
I know it.
I'm going to say here, I was a little bit like rolling my eyes because, there's maturity and there's just stupidity. She was hiding it from him. She was acting strange. And when she told him very nonchalantly with any empathy at all. So the fact that he says, I know that you are sorry, it's the maturity that turns into you are a little bit too much, good and nice when you should be like, well, Carrie, I don't really know if you're sorry. Because if you would be sorry, you would come and tell me. If you would be sorry, it wouldn't continue for as long as it did. You wouldn't allow it to come to this point. That would be a bit more, honestly, that would be the right thing to do. But somehow we are also sold this idea that just be nice, be polite, do the right thing. And sometimes the right thing is calling people out. Now it doesn't end here. Oh no, Bis. Things get even worse. Both of them are, struggling to hold back tears or crying. And Carrie asks Aiden, couldn't she be like the wood? Wood has flaws.
And you're the other one, and that makes it stronger.
Couldn't he be the person that is stronger in this and just fixes her flaws or compensates for her flaws? Yes, Bess, you heard that right. Carrie not only is in the quiet acting selfish, no, she's upfront. Okay, we can give her that. She's like, you know what? Look, I admit, I made mistakes, I have flaws. But what about if you take that burden? I'm weak. Isn't that what partners are supposed to do? Help you be better? Could you be the one who takes this fuck up and tries to, carry it on himself so we can continue this? The audacity? Can you imagine? The person who F's up presents themselves as, oh, this poor victim that is just so weak and that's why it happened. The fuck. The actual fuck. You're not weak. You never were weak. You know how much strength it takes to hide, to sneak out, to, be with another person while you're in a relationship with someone else, to sleep with both people at the same time. I don't see you as weak, but suddenly you're a little goose who just flapped her wings a little bit too much and lost her way because you were just looking for food. And no, Bis, someone threw you a piece of chicken and now you went out of your environment to get that chicken again. Yeah, okay, this didn't make sense, but it feels right. Is it possible that people are really, really that selfish and that self-preserving at the end of the day? Like, is this real? And honestly, yes. Yes, it is real. Oh my God, I cannot believe how I forgot about this. And I might have mentioned it before. I know personally a person who experienced cheating. And the guy, when he got caught, you know what he said to this person? It's because of my dad. Yes, my dad was never a faithful man, and I don't know how to be faithful to another person. And that's why I've been cheating on you for all this time. And not only that, you find out one time, but it's been going on for some time, and you can help. Excuse me, what? Why wouldn't you take that understanding that it's because of your father and your family and so on to go get help, professional help? How come you do what you do, but then you expect the person who got hurt from you doing what you hurt to take on that burden, that you had a bad experience? It does not excuse anything. You are still an adult with your own decision. Does the acts of our parents and what we see as a relationship impact us? 100%. Do we also have the responsibility of being aware of it and not take that as an excuse to hurt other people? Absolutely. Now, the person in question forgave this person because she understood it. You know, it's fucked up and sometimes things happen. Bess, he kept on cheating on her until they broke up. So tell me, how much is it, oh my God, you know, I'm just this weak person that this, and how much is it a freaking decision over and over and over again? Please sit your ass down. So this is how I'm seeing Carrie right now. Oh, poor little No. You are very strong. You are very strong to keep on this charade for so long. Or am I being too harsh? Like, honestly, I don't think I am. And I think that the majority of people who fall for this type of reasoning and explanations just want to be the saviors in their own right? Ugh, I just hate these things. Yes, I am drinking from a measuring cup. It's the biggest thing I can have for water. Aiden tells her that it's not that simple, and he actually wishes that he wouldn't know this. Great, Aiden. I mean, that's the thing with Aiden. He presents himself as very mature. He does something that feels so impossible, like walking away calmly from someone telling you that they cheated on you, to then going to someone who says, I wish I would know this. Huh? But okay, maybe that's the thing, right? Maybe we have our ups and downs and so on. The thing is that I don't appreciate how also the show now shows someone who is as mature and as emotionally intelligent as Aiden, right? Like that's how they are trying to sell him to us. Being someone who also signs under this idea that it would be better if he would know. Why? Is it the show subconsciously, influencing us in thinking that it's better if you don't know if someone is treating you badly or betraying you? Or does it show that Aiden himself likes to live in his own kind of fairy tale and illusion? It would be so much better if he would say, I wish this wouldn't happen, rather than I wish I wouldn't know. There's a difference between the two.
I just know myself. This isn't the kind of thing I can get over.
Aiden knows himself, and he tells Carrie that this is not a thing that he could just get over. And I really appreciate honesty in this case, right? I appreciate if he is in the state where he looks at Carrie and he's like, man, I wish we could continue this because I know you're sorry. I know you love me. I know we could be good for one another. But at the same time, I do know myself, and I know that it can never be what it was, because this is just too painful. And I think that is very, very fair and very good. To be honest, I personally wouldn't be so calm and so zen, but the outcome is kind of the same. Okay, walk away. It is better, at least for my personal opinion. Carrie is destroyed and she returns back to the wedding. She also reflects.
It's hard to find people who will love you no matter what.
But she is lucky because she found the three of them, referring to her friends. Now, Bess, what do you mean? She is reflecting how, it's difficult to find unconditional love, right? Because on some level, she might have expected that Aiden will show her this unconditional love, that she can be loved with flaws and all. It does not make sense. How come she didn't love him unconditionally? How come she went with someone else because, maybe, Aiden wasn't doing it for her? How can you expect someone to love you unconditionally when you yourself are the one who didn't do it? And also, the unconditional love between two people is a myth. It's an illusion. It is crap, okay? The only being that I believe that loves unconditionally is a dog. A dog shows you unconditional love. And it also sucks because people, sometimes we are very, very bad to animals, Two, in this case, dogs, okay? It sucks that they give us this unconditional love because it is not fair. Unconditional love between two people, I don't think it exists. It is based on, do you treat me well? It is based on, well, it's also based on traumas and toxic connections and so on, but that's something that we need to work on. But overall, if you treat me badly, if you are not respectful to me, if you don't love me yourself the way you expected to be loved, do not expect unconditional love. What is very, very clear is, despite Carrie being so regretful about what happened with Big and hoping that Aiden could forgive her, we never see her actually being remorseful in the way where she would try to understand why is she doing what she is doing. What led her to have an affair with Big? What led her to betray Aiden like that? It's almost like she does not want to face the actual reality that she did this and something drove her to do that. And that's the thing that she should be focused on, rather than focused on how Aiden will now see the bad side of her, or Aiden will not accept her with her flaws and so on. Like, she doesn't accept her flaws, because if she would try to understand them and try to grow from them. But for her, this is just a glitch. This is just a mistake she did. Does Carrie ever actually grow? Or does she always fall into the same patterns? What will Carrie's experience be now when she is alone, single again? Well, LA will tell us that. With all this analysis and so on, I don't know how do I come across. You can let me know in the comments below. But sometimes I feel like I come across so angry. I'm like so emotional and so like... Honestly, I don't want you to watch this video and go away from it and feel like all hyped about, me being all pissed here and angry and so on, and then you continuing doing like that. So I'm going to try my best to be a little more happy. Look, it's also for my personal well-being and health. I need to find a way how to roast these people, but keep it calm in some way. Carrie and the girls decide that they need to take some time off. Carrie most definitely needs to pack her bags and just go away from everything. And sometimes, Biz, that's exactly what you need. You just need to take some time for yourself, get away from everything, reevaluate, rethink, and come back. And Carrie got the perfect opportunity to do that. She is going on a brand trip. Not really on a brand trip. It's like a production trip. A company is interested in making her column into a movie. So it's all expenses paid. Now, what are we gonna see on this trip? Is LA everything a New Yorker thinks LA is? Fake. Are also guys in LA fake? And the guys in New York are actually authentic. We are embarking on a journey where we're gonna have two cities, LA, New York, two experiences Carrie has, and will give us an insight. Does Carrie actually learn, or does she always fall into the same patterns driven by her need for validation? It's gonna be interesting. They arrive in LA, and despite this being a vacation, at the end of the day, it's also business. And Carrie actually has a meeting with no other but Matthew McConaughey. And I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I also have no idea what the F happened with this guy. Did you see the whole self-help webinar he had?
It is time to not just find solid ground. It's time to admit that the solid ground that we seek is also higher ground.
I was watching that and this is insane. In the past, I was totally a fan of his, but now I'm like, no. Mm-mm. He is interested in Carrie's column, but he has an idea. You see, he wants to play big because Big is cool. Big is successful. Big is the hot guy. Big is the alpha everyone wants.
Look at him. He is such a great guy. My only question really is, what the fuck
is Carrie's problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is where I realized that this is a hint to how this Sex and the City show was created, okay? A man created that storyline. Honestly, I'm making this shit up. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we were duped many times in believing that a guy like Big is the ultimate prize, right? Because some middle-aged man in the right position decided it was cool. Carrie feels like she needs to come to the defense of the Carrie. We need to acknowledge that it was more about Big having commitment issue rather than Carrie's problems. She's also a little bit delusional.
I don't see why they couldn't make it work.
I couldn't believe it.
All of this makes Carrie feel very, very confused. I mean, she came to LA to escape her situationships and her problems with Big, with Aiden. And boom, here is a freaking actor, producer who wants to make it a central point of this show and her life. She wanted to escape her problems, but this is making it more real than ever. So she wonders, can you ever really escape your problems? Can you really escape your past? She's back at the hotel. It's nighttime. She's smoking by the pool. She can't sleep. A cute guy approaches her and he asks her to join. But Carrie wants to be alone. It's time for her to be alone for a while. That's what she actually wants, and that's what she actually needs. The next day, Carrie has to meet Matthew again and some other people that will help with this movie or whatever. And as she is pulling to the studio, she's like, wait a second. I have a choice here right now. I can let other people tell me what this story is going to be and what are my problems, what are Carrie's problems, or she can go on her way and figure them out on her own.
If I could master a stick shift, could a successful relationship be that far behind?
So she decides to ditch the meeting and drive off. We learn another thing about Carrie. This is unprofessional. Carrie and the girls have been about a week in LA and they are enjoying the vacay. Kinda. Carrie and Samantha actually try to get to a party, but a New York columnist doesn't have much power in Hollywood. So as Carrie is standing by the side curb, smoking a cigarette, Samantha trying to find a solution, someone approaches Carrie. Not only someone, a cute guy representing Matt Damon. That's who Carrie attracts, okay? Hotshots. She's just standing there and a guy comes up to her and he is the most successful person she can meet. And he gets Carrie and Samantha into the club. One thing leads to another. By that I mean they exchange 2 sentences and they decide to go on a date in a couple of days. He has an opening in his schedule for lunch. Now at the club, he also gets a VIP room and Carrie is ecstatic. I don't know if I dived too much into that side of the internet, but I've heard enough of effed up stuff that being in a club with a stranger who is inviting me into the VIP room, pass, okay? I can shake my booty here in the middle of the dance floor when everyone can see me. There's no way in hell I'm going with a stranger to a VIP room because that's so fancy. Trauma I might get from that won't be fancy. Joking aside, it's a serious thing. Please take care of yourselves. Even if you're going with a stranger or something, just make sure you know how to protect yourself if shit goes down. That you have people around you and at least one friend is sober. But you might say, you're totally exaggerating. And okay. What about Carrie going with this new guy, who is a representative of Matt Damon, to a house showing before they go to a lunch? In which danger area would you put that one? Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So they are planning to go for lunch, right? And he just needs to pop to a house before they get to lunch, right? He has an opening, a viewing or whatever. Before going into the story between these two and how Carrie is, again, infatuated by someone's success, I want to take this opportunity and mention a topic regarding politeness, especially women being polite and kind, even though they themselves feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I came across this podcast, and the topic was actually the dangers of being trafficked and being caught in trafficking. But I think it applies in general, right? When a guy approaches you and he is acting a little bit strange, he's looking at you, or he keeps on wanting to have conversation with you when you don't want to have it, when you feel some type of way, and yet, because we are taught that we need to be polite and kind, we engage with that person, right? There is this tendency to prioritize kindness at the expense of safety and feeling comfortable. And that is something that can very easily turn into not good situations. Carrie going with this guy to a house showcasing before the date could also be just, well, yeah, I'm not going to tell him, no, we agreed to go on a date. Why are you taking me now to this house? She's prioritizing on, okay, I also want to see this house. And again, she could be putting herself in a very dangerous situation. That's just something that made me think, and I wanted to actually put it in this video because I think it's really, really important. You know, sometimes I'm not saying now be rude to people. I'm just saying when you feel uncomfortable, prioritize your own comfort rather than being nice to someone else. Don't be rude, don't be anything, but just be maybe a little bit more firm, especially if someone keeps on pushing at you or trying to manipulate you to do what they want. Don't be afraid to be a little bit more harsh and say, you're coming into my space and I don't appreciate that. Like, I think sometimes we should be a little bit more confident in doing that. But let's get back to Carrie and Keith. That's his name. So they get to this house, and it is a 3.2 million house that I guess he is buying. Carrie is impressed, and I am impressed how Carrie is impressed so easily. At a certain age, I would expect that people kind of know these tactics. When someone is so focused on impressing you with a material thing, with an external thing, with validating you, and I'll get to that, there's something sus. Why do you need to do this? Why can't we just meet the two of us, huh? Why not? You know what happens when they're looking at this apartment, this house? He asks Carrie, what do you think? Oh my God. Carrie likes the house, and she is also impressed by the view. Maybe also impressed by the fact that he's asking her for an opinion. And just like that, she kisses him. A cute guy who is representative of Matt Damon, has a 3.2 million house, is interested in Carrie. What's there not to kiss? Yeah, did Carrie learn anything? Did Carrie learn anything? Did Carrie ever acknowledge that she is persuaded by the external success, by money, by status, and how she just lets that take everything over? Now, you might say, you know what, Carrie is in LA. She just went through shit and she's just having fun. And that's totally fine. But how does that align with her acknowledging that she should be alone sometime and she should figure shit out? Like, it's very clear that Carrie likes to escape. Now, let's touch a little bit on the very fact of how he, as a guy, is courting Carrie or is trying to impress Carrie. Like I said, my view is, why are you trying to impress me? What are you trying to compensate for? On the other hand, there is also a question about how do you see women? How this man in particular sees women in general, and also maybe Carrie. The fact that he prioritizes impressing her with the success, impressing her with money, impressing her with, this house and so on. Does he believe that women are only after success and money? Does he actually have any other view of women? You just need to flaunt some money in front of them and they will put out. But what happens when he gets that confirmation? What happens when he has that belief? And in this case, Carrie confirms it. Does that feed into his own fucked up beliefs? Or is he attracting people who will feed into that type of belief? If I want to grow tulips, I'm not gonna seed orchids. Now, just to emphasize, that doesn't mean that either of the people have the right to treat the other person badly. But it is more beneficial if we take some self-responsibility and actually try to get to know the person and not just try to play the impression game. That's my personal belief, at least. When it comes to Carrie, I would, it would be so refreshing if we would see actually a woman taking time for herself. And what does that mean? How does she actually take the time being alone? I do think that that would also help women in real life when they wouldn't feel like they're missing out if they take time for themselves. Because usually in movies and shows, at least what I've seen, even books, it's all about I'm taking time for myself, but then the next day there's a man in picture, right? I think it would help a lot. I think it would really normalize actually taking time for yourself to try to figure out shit and then, go back into the dating scene, let's say. All in all, despite Carrie trying to present herself as independent and a boss lady and unique and this and that, at the end of the day, it shows that she just wants to be scooped by a guy and taken on a fairy tale. Like, come on, she's trying to figure out her mistakes and falls in the arms of the first guy who passes her by and has some kind of status. Great job, Carrie. You are really onto something.
Later that night, I was a guest at Keith's amazing house.
She feels like a 3.2 million hotshot herself. But her fairy tale is interrupted. A woman walks in and she's like, damn it, Keith, I told you, no sex workers while you're sitting the house.
You're a house sitter?
Personal assistant.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. All of this is fake, okay? Guys in LA are just fake. They're just lying to you so they can get you in bed. Somehow, Carrie has no responsibility at this. I mean, it's kind of difficult to complain later on when you find out that there's no actual substance or truth. With this, Carrie is ready to go home and leave fake-ass LA behind her. She needs some realness. She needs to go back to New York. And people in New York, there's a real man waiting for Carrie. There's someone who is actually authentic and who actually can offer some more validation. He owns a comics shop, a shop where they sell comics. And he also writes comics. It's not selling the best, but still. Carrie actually meets him because she's looking for her shoe guy, because this was usually a place where she would fix her shoes. But she doesn't mind meeting a cute comics book guy. They have a little chat about superheroes and superwomen. And the next thing you know it, Carrie is at home at her apartment and she gets a letter. No, she doesn't get a letter. She gets a drawing of herself as a superwoman. Yes, biz, she met a creep. Let me put this into perspective. You meet a guy, and the next day, you get a picture of yourself in your mailbox. I mean, to be honest, you can see it as, oh my God, this is so cute and romantic, but is it really? Like, I would be a little bit freaked out. Carrie, though, well, Carrie likes it. There's something about Carrie liking guys trying to impress her, right? The guy in LA was impressing her with his status, and this guy, he doesn't have the status, but he is impressing her nonetheless. So what is actually the thing that is driving them impressing her, or she feeling special in some way? Okay, we all know the answer, but let's pretend we don't. And how does this all plan out? Plan out, play out. Also, do you think I'm a little bit harsh? Maybe dating back in the day was a little bit different and you actually needed to do something extra, like drawing a person and then sending her that. No, it still sounds wrong. Sorry. Carrie is obviously flattered. I mean, how wouldn't she be flattered? She just met this guy and he was so obsessed with her that he actually made a drawing of her and sent it to her apartment. It was also flattering how Joe from You was pursuing his first love interest, until he locked her in her basement, but details. Someone in the comments mentioned that I should do analysis on the You, and let me tell you, I'm going to do it. I am going to do it, but I'm going to read the book and try to kind of understand a little bit better, because I've heard there are also a lot of things missing from the book, which could give us some more insights. Carrie calls the guy to thank him, and obviously they go on a date. All in all, this relationship that they have is almost like a teenage type of love, right? And Carrie is also reflecting that. Like, he is still living with his parents. They are just having fun, like smoking weed, enjoying. And it's again some level of escape. Now, comparing the New York guy versus the LA guy, you could say, well, she learned that, the success and the money that she was impressed by in LA was all fake. So that's not the right path to go. So now she is kind of, going out with the real, authentic, trying to make it creative guy. Almost as, oh, she learned her lesson. But the problem is that the actual lesson is that she is impressed by guys, or she falls for guys who try to impress her. So her dating style is not, let me try to get to know one another, get to know how we are compatible. Her dating style is, how will I be impressed? Externally, you could say, oh, money versus authenticity or creativity. But both actually have one common thing. Carrie is not interacting in a two-way type of thing. Carrie is interacting in one way. That's why she's falling for different guys, but basically in the same way. She doesn't really know them. She doesn't really develop any connection or understanding of compatibility. It's all just about escapism and being impressed, or the guy's trying to impress her, being treated as, in a sense, as a princess. I don't want to use that word, but you know what I mean. So also this basically ends in this not working out, because at the end of the day, yes, it's fun to have this teenage love, but there is a point where you need to grow up and be an adult. And this guy still struggling with his business, still living at his parents' house, still being very much dependent on his parents. It's not the kind of adult relationship that she wants. It shows us how Carrie doesn't seem to really learn. She thinks she learns, like externally, but she doesn't really learn. The show almost shows us how, despite there being a difference between a teen type of love and adult type of love, Carrie seems to be stuck into the teen type of love. It is very normal that as a teen, you are impressed only by what is there externally, by the looks, by the popularity, right? Because you yourself haven't really developed any other understanding of people and connections and so on. So it's very external based. But when you are an adult, that cannot be anymore the reason to fall for love, because you have also developed other aspects and other understandings of what does it mean connecting with another person. It's not just, oh my God, I fell in love with him because he's the popular guy, or he's so cute, or he's so funny. No, when you are an adult, you kind of understand, well, we need to have something more than that. It's about how do we treat each other? How do we resolve conflict? How do we meet each other? What are our future goals together? And Carrie wants that, but she's still behaving as a teen type of love. She gets easily impressed by the external. So if we take a step back and we look at this LA versus New York experience, it's almost like these two cities represent Carrie's internal struggles, what she thinks is a struggle. LA is representing the fantasy that it's not real, right? And how she's chasing this fantasies, this surface level acknowledgement. And on the other hand, New York is kind of representing this grounding, more real experience, more her authentic self, what she actually wants. And yet failing to see that it's not about fantasy versus reality, but her own need for validation that results in her repeating the same patterns over and over again. So I wanted to include those two experiences because I think it is a good representation of how Carrie is seemingly dealing with her issues, but not really. Right now, though, she has another issue. Carrie and her girlfriends are having lunch. And who walks in? It is Natasha.